Today we are talking about, I don't know what we're talking about, but Trevor has some questions. So we're gonna go through some questions, and this is kind of leading into one night. So if you are planning on coming tonight, or if it's Saturday night, tomorrow night, so one night, then we'll see you there. And this is gonna be a good lead into that. If you're not, then that's okay, because we'll still have great conversation around this. Trevor, you want to shoot off question number one?
I'd love to.
Sweet.
All right, first question is to talk about a time that you tried out for something and just describe how it went for you. And so there's a sophomore year, I decided I needed to try out for advanced ensemble, which is...
You can talk to me too.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk to both of us.
I'll talk to both of you.
Okay, cool.
And so basically what advanced ensemble is there's the regular choirs, men's choir and women's choir. And you don't need to try out for those, you just go into that class. In advanced ensemble, you need to have a certain level of experience. You need to pass a test, get a certain grade. You had to get a 70 or higher. Okay. And it was one of those things that I wasn't sure about. And so here I am as a little sophomore. It's usually more of an upper class thing. I tried out for advanced ensemble. I ended up making it, which I wasn't sure about because it's 7 a.m. classes, and you know how teenagers feel about getting up early. Just no fun.
I don't like getting up early.
No one does. It's nasty. And so here we are, crack of dawn, barely light any light up, and but it ended up paying off in the long run. Getting to take, since I've been in ensemble, we take some trips we performed at Disneyland, which kind of didn't work out for us since it rained that day. Oh, I know, bummer. Rough day.
So you got a free Disneyland trip and you didn't have to perform?
Yeah.
Sounds like it worked out for you.
It's like, hey, we got to do all the rides we wanted. No one was there either. Suggest going on a rainy
Disneyland
day.
In the rain is the best.
Exactly. No one wants to go that day.
Yes.
They just cancel.
Especially the River Run ride.
I love. That's what we did.
And
like,
you can just get soaking wet, and no one wants to be on that ride.
3 times in a row. Oh,
there you go,
so
guys.
Good.
If you learned anything today, go to Disneyland in the rain.
You definitely should. Oh my gosh. But it's also paid off for us. As of this year, on April 25th, I leave Tucson as all the ensemble, we're heading off to New York, and we're performing at Carnegie Hall.
That is super awesome. I'm really excited.
For those who don't know, it's pretty big.
I'm gonna go. You need to get me an extra ticket.
Agreed.
Okay, cool.
Right. So you guys
but I like your story because it's something that you worked hard for and you tried out and you made it. I think back when I was in high school, and I was a decent saxophone player. I wasn't the best, and I got by on they call it riding your I got by on my laurels, meaning that I was decent in middle school and was okay in high school, and then I got an advanced jazz band. But then there was one year, it was my sophomore year, and there was this one song, it's called Ornithology by, I think it's Charlie Parker. He's a renowned saxophonist. And I sucked at the song, and I practiced, I tried hard, and I could not figure it out. And we went to regionals, and I did not make it, and a lot of the other people in the band did. I did not try out for band the next year because I just felt like, you know what? I don't feel like I have the chops for this. And I don't think I put the right effort in work, and I kind of regret that to this day that I didn't really continue with jazz band because I really like playing the saxophone. But I recognized in myself that I was like, I don't feel like I have what it takes to do this. And so then I decided in my life, I'm like, I'm not going to pursue this thing. And I regret it, and I wish I had. And I think that there's areas in our life, which I think leads to our next question.
Yeah.
Which, go ahead.
Are there any areas in your life that you haven't pursued because you felt like you weren't capable? In my life, there have been multiple times where I didn't think I had what it takes to get into something. There was freshman year, I didn't try out for ensemble because I didn't think I had what it takes. There were multiple other guys in our class that were way more qualified than I was, and so I decided I wouldn't try out that year. And it was one of those things I definitely regret to this day, just because I'm 1 year short of this award that I get.
Well, and I think about it too, that we often have times in our lives where we tend to disqualify ourselves from things.
Yeah.
Where we think like, oh, I'm not good enough to get into jazz band, or I didn't make regionals this year, I'm obviously not gonna make it next year, so I shouldn't even try out. I think there's a lot of times where we say, that we think that we're not good enough, and therefore we don't do what it takes, or we don't take that step of faith sometimes and jump out into something that feels uncomfortable or feels like we don't, like that we can make it. And I think that kind of limits us. Because like, had you not made it your freshman year, you would at least be able to say like, I tried. Yeah. If I had at least put the work and effort in, I could have learned something about taking that, doing that, having that discipline to do it. Yeah. And so I think that in life, we often put limits on ourselves because we are afraid, or we're just feel like we don't measure up to a standard or something like that.
What does sin mean to you? How would you describe the effect of sin in our lives?
Oh, that's a big question.
That is a very, wow.
All right, let's just put it out there. Like, sin is a weird word, right?
Yeah.
It's something that we hear often, and we're like, okay, sin.
Yeah.
And so I feel like a lot of people downplay it too.
Yeah.
There's like, oh, that's my favorite sin. It's like,
how can you have a favorite sin?
Mean?
Why?
Yeah, so what does sin mean to you?
I think the way I see it, sin is what separates us from God.
But I think what you're saying is valid, that sin is we're flawed. Yeah. We mess up. We fall short. We don't measure up, and that's what sin is. It's anytime we don't hit the mark. Like the actual the literal translation of it is kind of like when an archer is shooting at a target and they don't hit the bullseye.
Yeah.
That's like the translation in Greek or in Aramaic. Hebrew is the word I'm looking for.
One of them.
It's literally not hitting the target 100% of the time. And so, I mean, I don't know about my life, or I don't know about your life, but I know about my life, and I know that I do not hit the target every single time.
Yeah.
And so what kind of effect does that have on our life?
It's one of those things as a Christian, once you realize that we're all fallen human beings and that we're sinners no matter what, and then you look to God and it's like, he's perfect.
Yeah.
You have this view and it's just like, I'll never be good enough. There's no way I could make the team, or yeah. And it's just it gives that effect to you.
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to what we were just talking about earlier. Like, then we begin to disqualify ourselves. Yeah. We say, well, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to be that kind of perfect or that good. Why would I be able to follow God?
Exactly.
Or why would God love me? Because I know what I've done. And so I think we end up holding ourselves back from God because we look at ourselves and we feel like we don't measure up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what are some healthy alternatives to that?
So for me, I've thought about this before. And one of the things that I've done is I'll talk to friends. Shout out to Connor Larmore, good friend to debate with just about literally anything. Like, that man has any answer for anything. But it's like talking to good friends that you know, and also going to your Bible. There are certain verses about it.
Read the Bible. It's Romans 5:8.
5:8.
That's the verse
Just
that
kidding.
we're looking up. I'm probably wrong, but it's gonna be funny.
It's not 5:18. It's 5:23.
The Bible app, guys. The Bible app is great.
YouVersion.
We all fall
Another
short.
announcement
For we have all sinned.
Yeah,
3:23. I was wrong. Trevor was right. Don't listen to me. Listen to him.
right below. It's going to say score 1 for me. So.
For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God, and all are justified freely by His grace through the redemption that came by Christ Jesus.
That's kind of where I was trying to go with that. Of like, of course we fall short. We're all flawed, but that verse has also been a very big help in knowing that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. But no matter what, God still loves us.
Yeah.
For His creation.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of something that Paul says, and Paul's one of the writers in the New Testament. Paul wrote those verses as well as thousands of other verses. He wrote like most of the New Testament, and he says this, and it's on the screen over here, which I'm going to turn to. And so Paul's someone that, like, he was face to face with Jesus. He had this dramatic experience with God. Like, he was someone that if someone was holy, Paul was holy. And if someone was like able to live a perfect life, Paul would be one of those people that's able to do that. And Paul still constantly struggled with stuff. And so it says this: "For the trouble is not with the law, for it is spiritual and good. The trouble is with me, for I am all too human, a slave to sin. I don't really understand myself, for I want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. But if I know that what I am doing is wrong, this shows that I agree that the law is good. So I am not the one doing wrong. It is sin living in me that does it." And how many of us have had that experience? Like, I know what I want to do. I know what I should do, but then I end up doing something different.
Yeah.
And that's the eternal struggle with sin. And that's something that we constantly wrestle with. And it's sin, which is in the nature of humanity. And that's what we've talked about a little bit, and we're going to talk about more on Sunday night, just about when sin entered into the world and the brokenness that came with it. And it's something that we're struggling with to this day. And so some healthy alternatives to that, I think, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, recognizing that we're not all in this alone. Like, I've struggled with stuff, you struggle with stuff, people in this room have struggled with, like, continually living out just what God is calling you to do. We talked about it last one night, that we're all in this together. Like, because of Christ, we are one. We have this oneness with us. Reading His Word, praying, and talking to someone. I don't know how many times just talking to someone about something is probably one of the most important things you can do.
It is a good thing to do.
Yeah. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this with one another right now. So we're going to throw it back to you guys around the kitchen table or in the middle school room, wherever you're at. Go ahead and talk a little bit, and let's discuss just some of these implications for our lives. All right.